Muted.
Welcome to 10 Questions, brought to you by the FC Tucker Agent Development Center. I'm Angela Rabb, and today I have with me one of FC Tucker's top producers, Sonnie Laviolette. Did I say that correct, Sonnie?
You did.
Okay.
And good morning.
Well, I'm going to say that one more. Yeah, I'm going to say that one more time. Sonnie Laviolette, right?
Yes.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Welcome to 10 Questions, brought to you by the FC Tucker Agent Development Center. I'm Angela Rabb, and I have with me today Sonnie Laviolette. Sonnie Laviolette is one of the FC Tucker top producers. And Sonnie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I have been in residential real estate since 2003. I came here as a career change from being an advertising executive. I owned an advertising agency and made the transition over to residential real estate, and it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of challenge, but I don't regret the change. It's been a good move for me.
Well, and we love having you part of the FC Tucker family, let me tell you. Sonnie is out of our Zionsville office, and her team has really become a dominant force in that area. So we're excited to be able to get some information from Sonnie about how she runs her business today. Sonnie, what was your top lead source in the last 12 months?
Sphere, always, that is absolutely the top place we get business is our sphere of influence. And then also the client referrals that we get, which is another part of sphere of influence because you're expanding your sphere, but those are the two sources.
And what are a couple of things that you do to stay in touch with your sphere?
We look for opportunities to touch them as often as possible and in different ways. And we try to mix it up. And I say we, that means our whole team. That's one of the goals that we have on a weekly basis, is making phone calls, reaching out with an email, sending a text. And that really depends on the person that is on the other end of our communication, how they like to be touched. We also try to look for opportunities to surprise people in our sphere too with unexpected kindness or unexpected thinking about you, or just a surprise on their doorstep, or something, or a card, something like that.
I love that. I read a book once on motivation, and it was talking about how if you do things that are expected, it no longer becomes motivating. But if you surprise people, it's incredibly motivating. So I love to hear that you incorporate that with probably never having read that book.
I think it's just really important. We remember what piques our brain to get that wow factor, and not every touch is a wow factor. It would become every day an average if it was, but I think it's important to kind of look for those opportunities. I love a saying that I have posted. It says something to the effect, I probably don't remember the last thing they said to me or what happened, but I do know how they made me feel. And so I think we're an emotion business, and I think we need to spark that emotion every once in a while, whenever we can.
Love it. If you had to choose one of your strategies to double down on for the next 12 months, what would it be?
Well, I think it goes back to doing even a better job of touching our sphere and working those contacts for more referrals, and just be more disciplined about it. I'd like to say we're absolutely perfect, and boy, every week we hit goals of X amount of touches, but we don't. Life takes over, business takes over, you get busy, and of course those kind of things are the first thing that is given up because other priorities kind of sit in place. So if you want to grow the business, you got to find new business. You got to find new opportunities for business, and that goes back, in my case, to sphere and referrals.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you structure your business finances? What do you spend money on? What don't you spend money on?
Well, first of all, my team is an LLC. I run it as, financially, I run it as a business quite separate from my personal finances. I pay myself just like I, would pay any other employee. So the LLC is where the core of the finances are held. What I spend money on, that really changes given a given year and the culture that we're in, the marketing culture that we're in. But primarily it goes down to I spend money on the best marketing opportunities that I think are there. Right now, we're spending more of our money in social media, social internet exposure than we are in the traditional forms of marketing, such as print, magazine, that sort of thing. We still do some of that because and that depends on your market area. In our market area, we need to have a visual presence in a local paper that really maybe doesn't make much sense for other real estate agents if you're not in the Zionsville area. But in our area, I think we need to have a presence there. Can I say, hey, that's contributed to X amount of business at the end of the year? I can't put my thumb on it, but I know it does make a difference. A face, a presence is important. But I don't spend money on leads. They're cold. The percentage of capture on them is too low. We don't do that.
Good. I love that. Okay, what do you delegate, Sonnie?
I try to delegate everything that does not specifically impact bringing money in the door. I don't do a great job of that because I can also, in a turn of a dime, become a micromanager. And so I fight that. I really fight that. But my goal is to have team members around me that have the skills to take care of the details that are so very important, but I don't necessarily have to touch them. One of the most important people on my team is going to be the client services coordinator. Some people on their team call it a closing coordinator. She is the lifeblood of our team because if she's not doing her job and handling all those details beautifully, then I have to. And if I'm doing that, I can't be generating the next source of money coming in the door. So delegating is really important. I wish I was better at it, but I'm a whole lot better than I used to be.
Yeah, and I think it's important that you trust that client service coordinator, because then if you have that baseline of trust, then you're not double checking her work. You know what I mean? And if you're double checking his or her work, then you might as well be doing it yourself, right?
Well, exactly. So that person in that position is absolutely the most critical component of our team. And if that isn't well placed and the skills aren't there, or the understanding of what needs to be done isn't there, then it breaks down, and the team breaks down, and we see it in volume, in production. At the end of the day, at the end of the year, it's either our production has grown because of that person, or it's stagnated or even gone down because of that person. So it's a really critical piece of our team puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. Who holds you accountable and how?
Well, in my case, I think there's several ways. I think we all, and I put myself in that category, have to hold ourselves accountable, and there's got to be a level of discipline that makes you step back and say, hey, we got to have a talk you and me, and get myself refocused. But that said, as a team, we try to keep each other accountable. Like we have goals for 2017 individually and as a team, and at team meetings, we got to report how we're doing and why aren't we reaching those, and what do we need to do different, what are we not doing enough of, and so that's really, it's both individually and being disciplined, but it's also, that's I think one of the great benefits of a team is that, and even as a leader of a team, people on the team have to keep me accountable too. So that I think is one of the real blessings about being part of a team, is that you have more of a support and more of an accountability base.
And I think that's a sign of a great leader, by the way. I think the difference between a leader and a manager, you know, the manager is so top down, but a leader really, you know, the flow goes both ways. And I love hearing that with your team, you consider them your accountability partners. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we all rise and fall in success based on what we're doing together, and so that's why it's very important that that we all talk about it and we all keep each other focused on the end game.
That's awesome. Sonnie, how do you prioritize or triage your day between lead gen tasks and clients?
First of all, you stomp out the fires, and there's always some
Yep.
of those. I try to start my day with addressing immediate communication and priorities that's happened since the end of the day finished before. So it's emails, it's making those phone calls that to tidy up details, checking with other people on the team what's on your plan today, here's what I'm doing, and we use also a Google Calendar, so we all know where each other, what our priorities are, if there's commitments and that sort of thing, which is helpful. Ideally, I try to, by late morning, then be in a place in my day where I can then start reaching out, doing the touching, doing things that cause sales or can cause future sales. And that ideally then carries me through until towards the last third of the day, which is then coming back and regrouping, checking emails, responding, corresponding, stomping out fires, those kind of things. But as we all know, in real estate, things happen, and being responsive at the moment and in the moment is far more important than sticking to any kind of a daily routine.
Right, right. But I love that your plan includes a third of your day set aside really for reaching out to your sphere. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Well, some days it happens. A lot of days it happens. A lot of days it doesn't. It just really depends. Right. And as the market heats up and gets super active, that percentage changes. And for instance, in the spring, I'd like to be in a position where more than a third of the day is in the business of being with clients, getting clients, touching clients, making things happen. But we try to keep to that kind of scale, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your biggest mistakes, and what have you learned from them?
I think the biggest mistakes I have made involve not listening to my gut. And what I've learned is there is a time and a place where you walk away from business. I think that's a hard thing for any salesperson. I don't care whether you're selling real estate or you're selling cars or you're selling stocks. You have time invested, and you just feel like it's just an inch away. It's going to come together. But there are times that the chemistry or the circumstances aren't worth the money in the end. And I think that's the biggest lesson I have learned in real estate. Know when to say no.
That is awesome. If you could change one thing about your business right now, regardless of time or cost, what would it be?
That's a tough question. Ideally, without any regard for cost and the economics of it, I would add 2 additional people to my team with very specific jobs. One would be a showing agent. This would be a licensed agent that full or part-time, that could assist in busy times with showing, so that we can touch more people at the same time. And it's a new concept in real estate that I test drove this past year as I was training Paula White, a buyer agent that is now on our team. It was part of her training. It was amazing how much time that loosened up for both myself and Nick, who are the primary salespeople, or who are the primary salespeople on our team. And our clients, it's all how you present it. Our clients actually loved it because we could be more responsive to their time, to their needs, and there were no excuses about, I can't do it at 2 o'clock, but I can do it at 4 o'clock. Well, that maybe didn't work for them so well. So I'd love to have actually a full-time showing agent. That would be wonderful. The other team member that, if money wasn't a consideration, I would have a full-time marketing coordinator. Marketing is the one part of the business that inevitably gets lost because we get busy, and there's just not enough hours in the day for a client services coordinator to handle all the details of the transactions, plus really be looking for marketing opportunities and those things that we miss because we're not focused on looking for those opportunities. I think there's a lot of money left on the table because of that. But that's again, it's money, and it's an overhead that I can't afford.
Right, right. What do you read, Sonnie? Where do you get your information or your education from?
What I read is pretty much fiction stuff. I mean, I really don't, I'm not into business books reading. I don't respond well to that. But what I do look for in continuing education is I look for opportunities for maybe a day seminar that's being held someplace, probably not in Indianapolis, by someone who really has amazing credentials. I'll invest a day. Or somebody, you know, with amazing credentials or amazing ideas, you know, is doing a talk someplace, and you know, for a half a day, I'll try to do that. I'd like to do it more, but I think I'm very selective about where I spend that kind of time. I look for people that have amazing real estate businesses, or maybe it's not even real estate, but they're just great business people. I look for those opportunities, and I've got a lot of clients that I've been blessed with clients that are in pretty high executive positions, and I pick their brains. You know, they may be selling transmissions, or they may be running a car wash, but I pick their brains as we're working together. You know, how do you do this? Or, you know, what are some of the things that you do? It's amazing. There's a lot of ideas that can flow from one industry to the other, not just marketing ideas, but management ideas and philosophies, those kind of things. So you just kind of, I try to keep my antennas up.
Yeah, I think that's great that you're looking for ideas from other industries, because I think sometimes we get so invested in the next bright, shiny thing in real estate, but there's a lot of industries, I think, that use techniques that really translate well to real estate. So good job.
Well, I absolutely agree, and I think some of the more refreshing things that happen in real estate really didn't initiate from real estate, but it was an idea that was stolen from someplace else. Like, for instance, I saw a promotion that was advertised on a ski lift when I was skiing a couple years ago, that I thought, wow, what a great idea. So we came back and we tweaked it and kind of ran it as a year-long promotion, a hybrid of it for our team, and you know, it was cool. It was an idea I would never have thought of. So those things happen.
Yeah, if I could do anything, I'd have a great R&D department where R&D stands for rip off and duplicate, because there's good ideas
Yes.
out there, right?
Perfect. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so I know you have a team, so how do you find who you hire for your team or your assistant, and what criteria are you using to hire them?
This is one of the hardest jobs of putting, well, of any business, I think, is finding the right people, and finding them, and then being able to gather enough information to make a knowledgeable decision that's going to be right for the chemistry of your company. That's really, really critical. We just recently hired a new client coordinator. I'm excited. You know, Laura is doing great things already. But I probably interviewed 20 people before I came to a decision for Laura. Ran ads, different job websites. Also put a lot of social networking, asking people, you know, telling people, this is what I'm looking for. Do you know anybody that might fit the bill? And then just talking to a lot of people. Now, one of the big components is I think you have to know the skill base that you're trying to fill has certain personality traits, and they're absolutely not me. They're not the traits that I have, and they're not the traits that probably somebody else on my team should have either. So it's really important, once I find somebody that intrigues me and I think has the right chemistry, could have the right chemistry and that sort of thing, a major component is a personality profile. I run a DISC on them, and based on the tasks that the job description requires, it has to be compatible with what their DISC score is. If not, they're not going to be happy, and I'm not going to be happy, and it's not going to be a good fit for my team. So that's really some of it. It's a process, and it's hard to find those people. And as far as expanding team members in sales, often look to, not within real estate, but I tend to think that some of the best people are out in the corporate world doing other things, and you know, this would be a new avenue for them. And they bring a set of skills that can be quite complementary to a team, and maybe not a lot of inbreeding of the real estate stuff that we're all so, you know, indoctrinated into. So again, it's a process. It's ongoing. I'm always, you know, 24/7 on the look for talent. And if I find talent that I think could possibly be a good fit for my team, even if I'm not necessarily looking to add to my team at that point, I'll give it serious consideration, because you can't necessarily go find someone when you're absolutely, okay, I want to add a person to my team, or I want to fill this position. That's the hardest nut to crack. But you find good people. When you find them, you figure out how to fit them.
That is great advice. I love it. Love it. Okay, well, thank you so much, Sonnie. I think you gave some awesome information, If you want to get into contact with Sonnie, you can reach her at any of these contact methods on the screen. And thank you so much, Sonnie. I appreciate your time and your energy and your willingness to share.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.